You can't be a racist to white people. You know that. You are as worse as the fake Jews media, using the race card, hoping for clicks. You're exactly why we hate the media, anything for clicks. You hate whites. Because your other comment was Jesus didn't have blue eyes and blonde hair. I never said that he did. You're the one that said that all of the Israelites would have been black. And what I'm trying to tell you is that based on the DNA that they did back in 2022, that went back actually 6,500 years ago. So it was even before the Israelites, the chosen people, ended up in Egypt. That no, they would have had, they were intermarrying with people from Turkey and people from Syria. God was fine if they wanted to intermarry, but the problem was, and it's all through the Old Testament, is that if the only thing that had to take place if they were going to intermarry was that if they were from a different culture, that person they're marrying had to convert. So Moses was the only one that married someone with black skin. He married, I think she was a princess, and she was from what was known back then as the Cush area, Medinite or Medianite. And so that would have been the Sudan area, maybe even Ethiopia, it's hard to say. So that was it though. Because just go back to the very beginning. Abraham was from the Mesopotamia area, okay? So everything stems from Abraham, okay? The Abrahamic covenant, all that. And again, you're making this idea that these, the chosen people, that it's, God doesn't care about the lineage, because even anybody who follows Jesus Christ becomes an automatic descendant of Abraham's, even if not biological offspring. You are an offspring. It says it in the New Testament. But so Mesopotamia, and Abraham was in the part of Mesopotamia that is considered modern day Iraq. Okay, so then we go to the flood, and Noah was in Mesopotamia too, not in the Iraq area, but a different section of Mesopotamia, okay? And the Israelites came from his line. The ark, Noah's ark, ended up in Turkey. And this came out today. New evidence supports myth of Noah's ark as boat-shaped formation dates back to the biblical floods. They have been studying this area right here. See the shape? They've been studying it for, I think, 4 or 5 years now, because they believe that and this is in Turkey, Noah's ark. So then it aligns with the Bible, and I think that says for this article it was 35. What came out today was that they've determined that it goes back to 3,500 years ago, which lines with the Bible. So Noah ended up being in Turkey, Mesopotamia, and then the Israelites, they came from that line. The Israelites intermarried with the majority being from Syria and Turkey. So they would have had light skin, and they could have had blue eyes for sure. You are trying to say that no, all the chosen people of Israel, the Israelites anyway, were black. That's not true. It was Moses was the only one that married someone from Upper Egypt. And I tried to explain this to you in my video early this morning, that here's Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt. The Israelites were in Lower Egypt. Lower Egypt, they were light-skinned, because none of the Israelites came from Africa. They were enslaved there. They started out being fine with the first Pharaoh, and they had a prosperous life there. But they, early on, the Israelites were being strict to the Abraham covenant. So they could intermarry with other, cultures, but only if who they were marrying was willing to convert. So Moses ended up marrying a princess that was from Upper Egypt. Upper Egypt was the dark skin, your black people. He married a princess that was either from Sudan or Ethiopia. It's hard to say, but based on the Bible, one of those two areas. He's the only one. The rest of the Israelites who were living in Lower Egypt they were staying true to the covenant, which is what scared the second Pharaoh that came along, because they went into Egypt from Canaan because there was a famine in Canaan. They went into Lower Egypt, and the first Pharaoh said fine, but by the time the second Pharaoh came, they went in as 70 people, 70 Israelites. And by the time the second Pharaoh came along, he enslaved them because there was 2 million. Well, it was like 1 million at that time. And so he feared that they were going to overtake Africa, Egypt, because Pharaoh ran all of Africa. So he feared that they would, because there was so many of them multiplying, they would end up siding with Turkey or Syria, and those were enemies to Africa, to Egypt. But Egypt is part of Africa. So then he enslaved them, which ended up damning the Pharaoh's line. But Pharaoh's line was into the Baal worshiping stuff too, which is why none of the Israelites were intermingling with them. But by the time God took them out of their slavery, there was 2 million of them, which was proving prophecy also. And then God was very upset with Pharaoh, because not only did Pharaoh push back and not want to let them go, but then came after them, which then leads to the Red Sea, parting of the Red Sea, the whole story everybody knows there. And so then you get to this problem, the slave problem. Yet God says what will happen. So you can sit here and say, I'm playing the race card. I'm giving you evidence based on the Bible, and you keep going back to this fake Jew stuff. So the very first people ever to be enslaved based on the Bible was in Africa. They enslaved God's chosen people because of Pharaoh. Now, am I saying everybody in Africa is damned? No, not at all. Of course not. But God said this is how, when you continue to curse your own land. It's why he said, turn back to me and I will heal your land. Otherwise, this cycle continues. But what's happened over time is Americans, because, you're telling me I'm a race, that you can't be racist against whites. Okay, whatever. Yet America has been given this label that we enslaved Africans. But what seems to be lost on everybody is that Britain was the crown over much of Africa for a period of time. And the crown, was literally sending the black people into the colonies in America. And then we went to war with the crown and said, screw this, we're done with this. So the elites of Britain were doing this. But for all these years, all America has heard is how we're so racist. Yet our ancestors are the very people that stood up and fought back against the crown and said, we want none of it anymore. But you don't think that people can be racist at whites. I think you proved they can.